At least one analyst says the Foxconn explosion could cause iPad production to drop by as many as 2.5 million units. But my next guest says the worst case scenario for Apple would be a loss of about 500,000 units. Dale Ford is Senior Vice President of Market Intelligence for IHS iSuppli, which studies supply-demand research for the electronics industry. Dale comes to us from our Los Angeles bureau. So, Dale, certainly widely divergent estimates on how this could affect Apple. How did you arrive at your conclusion?
Well, in our assumption, we look at the Chengdu facility where about 20% of the production of iPads has been shifted. That 20% of production is what accounts for the 500,000 on a monthly basis. And we expect that they will be able to recover back to full production by the end of June. In order to reach a much larger number, you have to assume that the Shenzhen facility, where the majority of the production takes place, will be shut down for that same period of time. We don't agree with that assumption. We believe that while they may want to check the filtration systems in Shenzhen, that there's not a need for the Shenzhen facility to be shut down for that extended period of time, which would lead to a much larger impact.
So if Apple is checking out all of the facilities, what kind of time frame are we looking at?
Well, they themselves haven't given a time frame at this point. We do know that the explosion was caused by a buildup of dust from the polishing process in the facility. So that is something that you can address, of course, with the filtration system in the plant. In addition, of course, to replacing a filtration system in Chengdu, you have to repair all the other damage that's been done and be able to bring your workforce back into play there. Shenzhen, it's a much simpler process where you simply have to be sure the proper filtration systems are in place.
Mike Abramsky of RBC Capital is saying iPad production could drop by about 2.8 million units, up to 36%. What would it take for that to happen?
Well, that would take both facilities to be shut down for a month. For 1/3 of the quarter, both of those facilities would have to be shut down. We don't agree with that scenario. Yes, there may be a brief delay in Shenzhen while they check and make any adjustments to the filtration that need to be made, but there's no reason for Shenzhen to be shut down for a month, which we think is a real likelihood in Chengdu.
Now, we know Apple and Foxconn are both very secretive about the production process. Is Foxconn the only company that makes iPads for Apple?
Yes, they are. They have the exclusive production for the iPad. And it is important to note, however, Foxconn makes a variety of products for many of the large OEMs around the world, in addition to Apple. But in this case, specifically for the iPad, Foxconn is the manufacturer.
So this explosion is one issue. We know about continuing suicides at Foxconn to be another issue. Could you see Apple diversifying its manufacturers because of all of these problems?
No, I wouldn't anticipate that. Apple clearly will have been involved in the safety and in the procedures and the manufacturing processes at this location. So I don't think that they would find occasion to place complete responsibility on Foxconn itself. I think that Apple will also be engaged and has been engaged, I'm certain, in what they're doing in this manufacturing facility. And this has been a topic that's been brought up last year. There was some complaints placed given some of the working conditions and suicides that had taken place. And at that time, Apple had come under criticism at that point. But our point would be that part of what they're doing, in fact, to address this is shifting some of this manufacturing to Western China. So they're actually in the process and part of this to address earlier concerns.
So how involved is Apple in checking the working conditions at Foxconn? How often do they visit these sites and make sure that everything is going smoothly?
Well, not working for Apple, I can't tell you the exact procedures that take place, but our understanding, again, in terms of how Apple works and addresses in their complete process, it would be consistent with their philosophy and their management approach to be very closely involved with what takes place in the manufacturing. That is simply part of the corporate culture of Apple.
Is Apple, would you say, responsible for the conditions at Foxconn? They are two separate companies, though very much intertwined.
Well, I think you have to have a proper balance in all of this. The fact that there was an explosion, yes, is regrettable. In any process, in anything you're doing, you're taking calculated risks at any time. And when a disaster such as this takes place, we learn from it. But in all of our activities, simply driving here on the freeway for this interview, I passed an accident on the road. We're continually taking calculated risks that have inherent danger with them on a daily basis. And so I think in this case, we have to be careful in terms of how we couch the discussion about responsibility, et cetera. I believe Apple is working to be a responsible company, and they'll learn from this experience.
So what do you say for customers? Should they expect delays in getting their iPad, or is it not going to hit the supply chain in that way?
Well, there already are delays in place. You still have people waiting outside Apple stores at 6 in the morning hoping to get a coveted ticket so they can get an iPad if it happens to come in that day. So we still have delays, and if you go online, there's still delays online to order the products. And you have to note that the delays are not simply related to the manufacturing process. They also have limitations in supply of some of the key components. For example, we believe that displays could be another limiting factor in their ability to produce as many iPads as are being demanded in the marketplace right now.
All right, Dale Ford of iSuppli will be watching to see just how or if the supply chain is affected, particularly because of this explosion. Thanks so much for joining us.